Hello everyone, my name is Angel Roberto and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to quickly start slicing and printing using Photon Workshop. Alright, so as I said before, we're going to be using Anycubic Photon Workshop, which can be downloaded through the Anycubic website. Just navigate to the Photon printers and select any printer. They all have the same download. Scroll down and click the Slicer download link for your operating system. Now we're at the main page for our printer. Before we load in our model, let's select the proper settings for our printer and material. Click Settings in the bottom right and select your printer from the list and click Save. From there we can move on to the resin page where you can add in your own resin. At this point it's helpful to reference the manufacturer specifications for the resin, which I've pulled up here from Amazon. Alright, once that's filled in, we can move on to the slice parameter page. This page can seem overwhelming, but let's break down what each of these settings does. The layer thickness specifies the distance between each layer and is essentially the resolution in the vertical direction. I'm going to leave this at the default. The normal exposure time refers to the amount of time the printer shines the UV light at each layer. Check to see what the resin manufacturer recommends for your resin, as this will vary depending on the resin. I'm going to set mine to 8. The off time is the amount of time that the printer essentially does nothing while waiting for the resin in the vat to settle. I'm going to leave this at the default 1 second. The bottom exposure time is similar to the normal exposure time, except that it only applies to the first few layers. It's a lot longer than the normal exposure time to ensure that the first few layers adhere properly to the build plate. This will again vary by resin, but I'll set mine to 40 seconds. The bottom layers field is directly related to the previous field. It controls how many layers will be treated as bottom layers for the increased exposure time. I'm going to set mine to 4. The anti-aliasing feature and the surface abrasion feature control the smoothness of the surface, but for right now I'm going to leave them at the default. I'm also going to leave the basic control settings at the default, as they've worked well for my printer and resin. Now, click Save, and we can move on to importing a part. To import a part, click the Open icon in the menu bar. You'll need to see the part file as an STL or OBJ in order to import. Here's my sample part. It's a simple AirTag keychain adapter. To pan, hold the left mouse button and move the mouse. To rotate, hold the right mouse button while moving the mouse, and use the scroll bar to zoom. Now it's time to orient the part and add supports. Since resin printers cure one layer at a time, we have to make sure to orient the part in such a way that there are no floating parts. Everything must be connected. Using the slider on the right, I can check the part to see how it will be printed. Now here we have a problem. As you can see, this portion is floating separately from the rest of the part, which will cause it to fail. To fix this, I'm going to rotate the part 90 degrees using the rotate tool on the left. Now that I've rotated the part 90 degrees to get rid of the floating bits, I'm going to also rotate it a little bit in the X direction just to help with surface finish. This orientation looks good. So now it's time to move on to support material. Now, before we add support material, we need to move the part up in order to make room for the support material. So let's use the Move tool and increase the Z value by a couple millimeters. Now that the part is floating above the build plate, let's click on the Support tab on the top right. There are a lot of settings here to really fine-tune the supports, but I'm going to add some quick supports. Since this is a small part, I'm going to select the light support option up here. To add supports, make sure that the manual supports Add button is selected, and click on the surfaces that face the build plate, especially focusing on the red highlighted areas. Once that's done, the last step is to slice it and save the file to a flash drive. Click back to the Model tab in the upper right hand corner, and you'll see a slice button in the bottom right. Click it and save it to your flash drive. For now, I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Click Save. The software will generate the images and give you an estimate for the printing time and the amount of material used, as well as the option to preview the generated images. Now simply eject the flash drive and get printing. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.